July 14th, 2010. Helmand Province, southern Afghanistan. The sun is already punishing by the time the patrol steps off the dirt road and into the fields. Dust hangs in the air like smoke. The smell of hot earth, diesel, and sweat clings to everything. U.S. Army Specialist Daniel Harper, 23 years old, rifle slung tight across his chest, moves in the middle of the file, exactly where his squad leader wants him. Not first, not last, close enough to react, far enough to survive. Or so they think. The irrigation ditches slice the farmland into uneven rectangles. Poppy fields stretch out in dull green rows, innocent-looking, quiet. Too quiet. Harper feels it before he can explain it. The pressure behind the eyes, the instinct drilled into him since Fort Benning. Something is wrong. His boots crunch softly against dry soil. 35 pounds of body armor presses into his shoulders. The M4 carbine feels heavier than usual. The radio crackles once, then goes dead silent again. "Watch your spacing," Sergeant First Class Mike Reynolds whispers over his shoulder. Harper nods, even though Reynolds can't see him. They've walked this route before. Dozens of times. That's what makes it dangerous. Taliban fighters know patterns. They watch, they wait. Harper scans left, then right. Mud walls. A cluster of trees. A narrow footpath leading between fields. It looks unchanged. He takes one more step. The explosion is not loud at first. It's violent. A concussive slap that empties the world of sound. The ground disappears beneath him. The sky flips upside down. For a fraction of a second, Harper feels weightless, suspended, as if the earth itself has rejected him. Then pain arrives. Not sharp, not immediate, just overwhelming pressure, like his body has been crushed by a closing door. He hits the ground hard, helmet snapping back. Dust fills his mouth. The ringing in his ears is so intense it drowns out everything else. He tries to breathe and can't tell if his lungs are working. Someone is screaming. It takes him a moment to realize it's him. "Man down! Man down!" Reynolds' voice cuts through the chaos. Gunfire erupts almost instantly, short, controlled bursts aimed at tree lines and compounds. The squad fans out, returning fire on instinct. Training takes over where shock hasn't yet reached. Harper tries to sit up. He can't. He looks down. Where his legs should be, there is shredded fabric, blood, and smoke. His brain refuses to process it. The image doesn't make sense. It feels like looking at someone else's body. Hey, stay with me." A face appears above him. Corporal Luis Martinez, the squad's combat lifesaver. His eyes are wide but focused, hands already moving. Martinez applies a tourniquet high on Harper's right thigh, then the left, tighter. Harper screams again, but this time it's because he can feel the pressure, and that means he's still alive. The IED was pressure plate activated, buried deep, designed to kill whoever stepped on it and maim anyone nearby. Harper took the full force. Am I hit?" Harper asks, his voice thin, distant. Martinez locks eyes with him. "You're hit, but you're here. You hear me? You're here." The firefight intensifies. Rounds snap overhead. Dirt kicks up inches from Harper's face. Reynolds calls in a medevac, voice tight but controlled, giving the 9 line like he said it 1,000 times. Because he has. Harper's world shrinks. Heat, pain, the smell of burned metal and blood. The crushing weight of his gear still strapped to him. He tries to move his toes out of habit, out of denial. Nothing happens. Panic claws at his chest. Martinez leans closer. "Don't look down. Look at me." Harper focuses on Martinez's face, on the sweat running down his temples, on the patch of dust on his cheek. "You're gonna be okay," Martinez says, even though both of them know that okay no longer means what it used to. Minutes stretch like hours. The sound of rotor blades finally breaks through the gunfire, the deep, mechanical thunder of an Apache escort, followed by the sharper chop of a Black Hawk. As the helicopter descends, sand whips into a blinding storm. The squad forms a perimeter, rifles up, bodies between Harper and the threat. As medics lift him onto the stretcher, Harper feels the world pulling away. His squad, the fields, the heat, everything fading into the roar of the engine. The last thing he sees before losing consciousness is Sergeant Reynolds gripping the side of the stretcher. "Stay alive, son," Reynolds says. "That's an order." And Harper does. Not because it's easy, not because it's guaranteed, but because the fight, his real fight, has only just begun. The world comes back in fragments. Noise first, machines humming, beeping, a steady mechanical rhythm that doesn't belong to the battlefield. Then light, harsh and white, pressing through his eyelids. Harper tries to open his eyes, but his body doesn't respond the way it should. Everything feels distant, like he's underwater. There is pain, but it's muted, wrapped in something thick and heavy. He hears voices, blood pressures stabilizing. Tourniquets held. Damage control surgery worked. He's lucky. Lucky. The word drifts past him, absurd and unreal. Harper wakes fully hours later at Camp Bastion Roll 3 Hospital, though wakes is generous. Consciousness arrives in waves, short, disorienting, then gone again. When his eyes finally focus, he sees a ceiling he doesn't recognize and tubing running into his arms. His mouth is dry, cracked. His throat burns. He tries to speak. Nothing comes out. A nurse notices the movement. "Easy," she says gently, stepping into his line of sight. "You're safe. You're in Bastion. You made it." Made it where? Memory rushes back without warning. The poppy field, the step, the explosion. His heart rate spikes instantly. Alarms chirp. "My legs," he croaks, the words barely audible. The nurse doesn't answer right away. She pulls a chair closer, lowering herself so they're eye level. "You were badly wounded," she says carefully. "The doctors did everything they could." Harper doesn't need the rest of the sentence. He already knows. He looks down. The sheet rises and falls over his torso, flat where there should be weight, where there should be something. The silence in his head is absolute. His first thought isn't fear. It's anger, a raw, burning fury that makes his chest tighten. At the Taliban, at the field, at himself for stepping where he stepped, at the fact that the war, his war, has just ended without his permission. Over the next 48 hours, Harper undergoes more surgeries than he can count. Surgeons work to prevent infection, to stabilize what remains, to keep him alive long enough for the next step. Morphine blurs time into something soft and formless. He drifts in and out, catching glimpses of other wounded soldiers, burn victims, amputees, men with 1,000-yard stares at age 20. This is the other side of the war, hidden behind statistics and press releases. On the third day, he's loaded onto another aircraft. This one isn't a helicopter. It's a C-17 Globemaster, configured as a flying intensive care unit. Rows of stretchers line the cargo bay. Monitors glow in the dim light. The smell of antiseptic replaces the smell of dust and cordite. As the plane lifts off, Harper feels a strange sensation. Not relief, not sadness, but separation. Afghanistan is dropping away beneath him, and with it, the person he was when he arrived. They fly him to Landstuhl Regional Medical Center in Germany. More surgery, more doctors, more quiet conversations held just out of earshot. That's where he meets the army psychiatrist. She introduces herself calmly, professionally. She doesn't ask him how he feels. She asks him what he remembers. He tells her about the step, about the sound disappearing, about looking down. His voice cracks for the first time when he talks about his squad, about Martinez's hands, about Reynolds's voice. He admits what he hasn't said out loud yet. "I was supposed to protect them," he says. Now I'm just cargo. The psychiatrist doesn't correct him. She lets the words sit between them, heavy and real. Weeks later, Harper arrives at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center in the United States, the place where wounded soldiers go when survival is no longer the question, but living is. His parents are there when he wakes from surgery. His mother grips his hand like she's afraid he'll disappear if she lets go. His father doesn't say much. He doesn't need to. His eyes say everything. Harper avoids looking at the space beneath the blanket. When the doctors finally encourage him to sit up, the reality becomes unavoidable. Mirrors don't lie. Gravity doesn't forgive. He vomits the first time he sees himself. The second time, he stares. The third time, something shifts. Not acceptance, not peace, but recognition. This is the body he has now. This is the terrain he must learn. Rehabilitation begins almost immediately. Physical therapists push him harder than he expects. They don't ask if he's ready. They tell him when to start. Pain means you're alive, one of them says, and alive means you can work. The days blur into a cycle of sweat, frustration, and exhaustion. Learning how to balance, how to transfer from bed to wheelchair, how to fall without panicking. Nights are worse. That's when the poppy field comes back. That's when he hears the explosion again, feels the lift, the drop. That's when the anger returns, whispering that his life ended on July 14th, 2010. But then something unexpected happens. He meets other men like him. Men with missing arms, missing legs, missing pieces of themselves, but not broken. Men who joke about prosthetics, who race wheelchairs down hallways, who talk about the future like it still belongs to them. For the first time since the blast, Harper laughs. And in that laughter, quiet and surprising, the idea takes root. Maybe this isn't the end of his story. Maybe it's the beginning of a different kind of fight. The first time they bring in the prosthetics, Harper doesn't want to look at them. They rest against the wall of the rehab room. Carbon fiber, metal joints, rubberized feet. Clean, precise, almost clinical. They don't look like legs. They look like tools. Equipment. Something issued. Not grown. "Take your time," says Dr. Elaine Foster, the lead prosthetist. She's calm, direct, and doesn't sugarcoat anything. "These won't replace what you lost, but they can give you something new." Harper exhales slowly. "I don't want new." Dr. Foster nods. Nobody ever does. Fitting the sockets is uncomfortable at best, agonizing at worst. His residual limbs are still healing, nerves firing without warning. Phantom pain strikes like lightning, sharp, sudden, convincing his brain that toes still curl and ankles still twist. When they finally help him upright between the parallel bars, the room tilts violently, his hands clamp down, knuckles white. "This is standing," the physical therapist says. "Different center of gravity, different rules." Harper's heart pounds like he's back on patrol. Every instinct screams that he's about to fall. "Trust the legs," the therapist says. That's the problem. Trust has become complicated. He takes a step. The movement is mechanical, awkward, nothing like walking. His hips overcorrect. The prosthetic foot lands too hard. Pain flares up his spine. He stumbles. Hands catch him before he hits the floor. He swears, loud and angry, the words pouring out before he can stop them. The therapist doesn't flinch. "Good," she says. "Get it out. Then do it again." Day after day, Harper works. Walk, fall, adjust, repeat. Sweat soaks his shirt. His arms ache from supporting his weight. His stumps burn. The mirror reflects a stranger learning to move. Progress is measured in inches, not miles. Outside the rehab ward, life keeps moving. His unit rotates home. The war continues without him. He watches news clips of Afghanistan from a wheelchair, feeling both relief and guilt twist together in his chest. One afternoon, Martinez visits. The same Martinez who saved his life in the field. The same steady hands, the same focused eyes. He looks at Harper's prosthetics, then back at Harper. "Hell of a thing," Martinez says quietly. Harper nods. "Yeah." They don't talk about the blast. They don't need to. They talk about small things. The guys, the food, stupid barracks stories. Normal things. For a while, Harper forgets to be angry. Before leaving, Martinez grips his shoulder. "You're still one of us," he says. "Don't forget that." That night, Harper doesn't dream about the explosion. He dreams about running. Weeks turn into months. Walking becomes smoother, then faster. Stairs appear, ramps, uneven surfaces. The therapists introduce resistance, weight, balance drills that leave him drenched and shaking. One day, someone brings a basketball into the gym. Another day, a rowing machine. Harper resists at first, then leans into it. Competition sparks something familiar, something military, something alive. He times himself, tries to beat yesterday's numbers, pushes until the pain blurs into focus. Dr. Foster notices the change. "You ever think about adaptive sports?" she asks casually. Harper shrugs. "I'm not an athlete." She smiles slightly. Neither were most of the people who changed their lives doing it. The first adaptive sports event he attends is loud, chaotic, and full of energy. Veterans of every age and injury compete. Wheelchair basketball, sled hockey, track events. The air buzzes with adrenaline and trash talk. Harper watches from the sidelines, transfixed. These aren't victims. These are competitors. A man with a prosthetic blade leg sprints down the track, powerful and fast. A double amputee launches a shot put farther than Harper ever could before the war. Something tight in his chest loosens. He signs up. Training becomes a mission. Early mornings, structured goals, measurable progress. The familiar rhythm of discipline returns, filling the void the uniform left behind. Harper starts speaking at small events, rehab groups, VA centers. At first, his voice shakes, then it steadies. He talks about anger, about fear, about learning to stand when standing feels impossible. People listen. Some cry, some come up afterward and thank him, quietly, like it's a confession. Months later, Harper crosses a finish line at his first adaptive race. It's not pretty, it's not fast, but he crosses it upright. As he looks down at the prosthetic legs beneath him, he doesn't feel hatred, he feels respect. They carried him here. And for the first time since Helmand Province, Harper understands something clearly. His life didn't end in that field. It changed direction. The uniform never comes back, not in the way Harper once imagined. There is no return to patrols, no weight of body armor settling onto his shoulders, no rifle sling cutting across his chest. His medical retirement paperwork arrives in a plain envelope, stamped and final. The army thanks him for his service. The language is formal, clean, permanent. Harper sits at his kitchen table for a long time after reading it. He doesn't feel betrayed. He feels untethered. For years, every decision had been made within a system, orders, missions, objectives. Now the structure is gone, and the silence that replaces it is unsettling. He wakes early out of habit, then has nowhere to report. What saves him is routine. Training schedules replace patrol briefs. Meal prep replaces MRES. Physical therapy transitions into coaching sessions, biomechanics analysis, nutrition plans. He learns how to maintain his prosthetics the way he once cleaned his weapon, methodically, respectfully. Adaptive athletics becomes more than rehab. It becomes purpose. Harper competes in regional events, then national ones. He improves, not dramatically, but steadily. He learns how to fall at speed and get back up without help. He learns how to ignore the stares in public spaces, the awkward pauses when people notice the legs. Children ask the hardest questions. Where did your legs go? Harper kneels down so they're eye level. I lost them doing my job. Does it hurt? Sometimes, he says honestly, but I'm okay. He starts volunteering at military hospitals, talking to newly wounded soldiers who stare at the ceiling the way he once did. He recognizes the anger immediately, the fear beneath it. He doesn't tell them it will be fine. He tells them it will be hard. But you're still here, he says, and that matters more than you think. One soldier asks him quietly, "Do you ever stop missing who you were?" Harper thinks about it, about the kid who enlisted, about the infantryman in Helmand, about the step that erased that version of himself. "No," he says, "but you learn how to carry him with you." His advocacy grows naturally, not through speeches, but through presence. He participates in fundraisers for wounded veterans. He works with organizations that provide adaptive sports equipment to amputees who can't afford it. He pushes for better prosthetic access, better long-term care. When reporters ask him about the explosion, he redirects. "That's one moment," he says. "It doesn't get to define all the others." Years pass. The scars fade from angry red to pale white. The phantom pain becomes manageable. Some days are harder than others. Weather changes, socket issues, the quiet frustration of limits he can't train past. But there are victories too. He runs again, not the way he used to, not effortlessly, but powerfully, deliberately, each stride a choice. At a national adaptive athletics event, Harper stands on a podium, sweat still cooling on his skin. The medal is light in his hand, but it carries weight, proof of hours no one saw, of work done when quitting would have been easier. In the crowd, he spots faces he recognizes. Other amputees, other veterans, people who came because they needed to see what was possible. Later that night, alone in his hotel room, Harper removes his prosthetics and sits on the edge of the bed. He massages his residual limbs, slow and careful. He thinks about Helmand Province, about the dust, about Martinez's hands, about Sergeant Reynolds' voice telling him to stay alive. He exhales. Staying alive, he realizes, was only the first order. Living, that was the harder mission, and he's still carrying it out.